Hello viewers, welcome back to our YouTube channel, KC Accountants Education Center. Today we want to proceed with our topic. In the previous video, I introduced about the capital structure and dividend policy, and want to continue with our episode of that same topic. And what we had promised to discuss about was about the capital structure theories, and those are the ones that I want to give a brief introduction. Then we start looking at one by one, and we see what they are about as far as capital structures are concerned. So the capital structure theories. And to be very clear, there are only two. There are only two theories. Now, of course, we all know from the world of economics, people come up with theories. People, companies, of course, they come up with different theories, and most so the economics, from the economic point of view, the economics, there are people who have developed theories surrounding whether you should be going in for debt, or you should be going in for equity, or you should have it at the same time. So we want to look at what basically did these people talk about, some of them, and what theories did they invent or develop. Of course, as per the examination, for the examination, if they ask you about theories, then you are, of course, I'm going to try and make sure that I explain it in the way the examiner would love you to explain it. So whenever they talk about theories, as far as capital structure theories are concerned, I'm going to try to discuss them, these theories, and I try to explain them the way you should explain them if at all they are being asked by the examiner. But the other thing that you should note is that if you are doing an exam, or if in an examination, when they ask you about the assumptions of any theory, assumptions of any theory or model, it can be a theory or it can be a model, theory or model, because it can also be a model that you are required to talk about the assumptions of that model. One key thing that I need you to get from the bottom line, whenever you see any question that is requiring you to talk about the assumptions of any model, when you are giving the assumptions, make sure that you give them as the way they were invented or the way they were developed. You give those assumptions as the way they were given by the person who developed that model or theory. You don't explain anything. You just give it the way it is. You don't explain them. You just state them the way they were stated by the person who brought them. But also, the other thing that I need you to note is the fact that if they ask you about limitations of any theory or model, if they ask you about the limitations, then for these limitations, you just criticize. You just criticize the assumptions. You criticize the assumptions. And this is where you are going to explain. You just criticize the assumptions, and that's it. After criticizing the assumption, you can now be able to explain more why are you criticizing the assumption. You first state the assumption that they assume this, but maybe it's unrealistic because of this and this, depending on what is happening. So when they ask you about the limitations, sometimes they may call them challenges of any theory. The point here is you discuss the assumptions by opposing those limitations. For example, we had some questions. There are some numbers. Maybe I can give you some numbers. If you look at question, it was question 4 part B of August 2019. August 2019, the examiner asked that assess the limitations of using Modiglian and Miller M&M model in determining the cost of capital. And he gave it 10 marks. Imagine having 10 marks on a theoretical question. So here you will be giving like 5 points, but you make sure you explain them well. So you state the assumption, criticize it, and give a reason as why you are criticizing it. It's not just criticizing and you leave it there. You have to give a reason as to why you are criticizing it, or you are opposing that assumption that as was invented by the person who developed that model. So we need now to understand what are the two theories. I told you that we had two theories in the capital structure theories. So what are they? So what are those two theories? Capital structure theories. One, we have what we call the traditional school of thought. Traditional school theory, or you can call it school of thought, or what we sometimes they call it. They don't call it that. They may call it the traditional theory. Traditional theory. The other theory is what we call the M&M. Is what we call the M&M, or what we call the Modiglian. Modiglian. These are people. Modiglian and Miller. That's what we call the M&M model or theory. These are the two that we have. The name is written as Modiglian and Miller. This is a G. Modiglian and Miller. So these are the two theories that we have as well as capital structures are concerned. Now, I want to basically on these two theories, I want to focus more on the examination purpose, because the theory may be a little bit wide, but we want to look at the focus of the examiner. How is the examiner going to reflect on these two items, on these two theories? Now, the Modiglian and Miller, I prefer to use M&M model, but it refers to Modiglian and Miller. If you look at the Modiglian and Miller, they came about and they found, of course, when you look at these Modiglian and Miller, M&M, they came about and they found that this traditional school of thought, or the traditional theory, they found that it was telling investors or companies or corporate finance on the capital structure. So they had what they were telling, or what they were discussing, or what they were implementing as far as corporate finance or corporations should behave as far as their capital structure is concerned. So in the exam, you will be asked to explain. The examination focus is that, so this is the first one. This was the traditional thought was the first one, then this molecular and media. They came to just try to they tried to sort the mess that was brought by, maybe I can't say it was a mess, but they came to resolve what was not served by, depending on, because time keeps on changing and even things keeps on changing. So once there are some new developments that have been come into existence, of course different economists come up with something new to add to what was existing. So the examiner will tell you to explain the theory. Then we also look at the assumptions of each. Then we also look at the limitations of each. And also we can also talk about the relevances if possible. Relevances, those are the applicability. Is it applicable in some way or the other? Is it what is prevailing in the market at the moment? Therefore, you need to get the argument of the traditional school of thought or the traditional theory on the capital structure, and they are the same. They are the same things that we are going to use under dividend policy. So I don't actually know whether I may confuse you, but you have to pick the argument very well from at least the capital market structures or the capital structures. Then by the time we go to the other side, that's why the topic is actually capital markets and dividend policy, because we use the same, the theories that we use, they are the same, they cut across. So we use the same theory to explain even what? Dividends. Because per se, if you're talking about, dividends, we know it is all about looking at the equity component. So here we are looking at capital structure. We are looking at those sources themselves. So we shall be using the same, we shall see what they are talking about in regards to debt and equity. Then we'll do analysis basing on whether the company should have more of debt or equity, because that's basically what we are trying to look at. Should the company have an optimal level of debt over equity? So whether the company should have no limitations or no restrictions on whether they should employ debt or equity in their capital structure. Then when we go to the other side, we shall look at if they are saying, if one of them is saying you take more debt, then it means you don't pay dividends. What are they saying basing on those two kind of scenarios? So that's what the examiner is also going to be interested in knowing, but you should understand what the theory is all about. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start looking at the traditional school of thought. When we are done with the traditional school of thought, we shall look at the Modiglian and Miller. but that is going to be in the next video. This video is going to be wind up to, it has given us an insight of what we are going to be looking at in the next video. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next video as we are talking about the traditional school theory or the traditional school of thought.